Okay, so Ecclesiastes 1:18 says, uh, the increasing wisdom and knowledge increases sorrow, increasing reaching the actually it says it's reaching the limits of knowledge, because knowledge is built line upon line, precept upon precept. So uh, it's built on something small, something more, and you eventually drill down to your at one single point, right? And you push the limits of knowledge, and now at this limit of knowledge, you've got, oh my God, it's not negotiable. And what's not negotiable? The Wehu, like la Basarika, and And we find that that is actually built on another precept, another thing, which is if they wanted to learn, right, Hadath, they wanted to stretch now, but also wanted to learn to think, right? They wanted to think. But it's something that's before space time, which means it's before being numbered. There's no words or it just right. The thought process is not can nothing anybody can think can be above that. So you need to stop thinking. Thinking at this point becomes you trying to put yourself above the Lord. It's rebellion. And the precept that this everything is founded on the way you like Basar is if the conditions exist whatsoever that the high Adam is not one, had to have Lakar Bashar, and is not Percy control, trying to control with the purse. Like, oh no, we're gonna drive you around. Right, we're just gonna, and you have to ride with us, so we're gonna make sure you don't have money and this. And you have to live with mom. We're gonna drive you around, and have people in phones, and just putting you all the time. Then that is a condition that you created to make that happen. It's your fault if the condition exists whatsoever. It is your fault. You are guilty, sin. Boom. It was on purpose. That's what that's founded on. And like I said 18 years ago, and I showed them in scripture in Genesis 2 that if the condition exists at all, and I said, look, we can solve this. Boom, right? We can solve it like that. Because, I don't need hundreds of trillions of dollars in, to I think I said, I'll tell you what, for the short term, we can solve just the whatever thing. And anyway, so, I mean, but now since they rejected the what in and then they did all this evil and consumed all this time, like they put me in the car and they made sure that I had to ride in the car and go where I was driven to, the way I was driven there, rather than doing what I said to do exactly. Then that's the limit of knowledge. We've reached the limit. We've pushed knowledge to the point where it's non-negotiable, and there's nothing I can do about it. So it's outside of space-time. It can't be numbered. Can't be numbered. Can't be named. It just is outside of space-time. It does. There's all the and that's where true magic comes from, like real magic, real wizardry, real witchcraft. And the high Adam is the man that is basically the head witch, through which all powers of Bereshith, the beginning of physical matter, all physical matter, including our body, and all ruach, invisible movement of energy, all of it, like all of it, like everything. And it's that which is under the sun. It's the sun serving God's purpose. That's the energies of the whole. Anyway, so, so, well, if you're going to be that way, we're not going to be living it. Exactly, we're not. You can't, they cannot come into the king's cloud pillar chamber, have any access to any of the, any whatsoever services of the king of the world. None. They can't broadcast across and through the airwaves. Done. Everybody's license is revoked. You cannot broadcast on the airways. I told you. June 14th, whatever. I cut it off June 14th, 2025. I don't know. Anyway, but that was, I completely cut it off then. I just was like, no, I'm done with y'all. And once I've spoken something, then it can't be taken back. It's reached the limits. We've reached the limits. And I said this basically in 2018 or 2008, 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. But but no, they just kept on wanting to me to push the limits of knowledge and keep me riding in the car so they could drive. And they, and as long as we get there, no, we are not going to get there. Not we. There's no we. There hasn't been tribute, loyalty. A tribute means you prove loyalty. And the conditions were allowed to exist. Period. That they were allowed to exist, you allowed them to exist. And who allowed? The Elohim, the governments, the leaders of governments, the United States government, whatever government, the church, whatever this government is, right? These Elohim, whatever masters existed. But so that's the limit of knowledge has been reached. And that's why when there's the limit of knowledge has been reached, there's much sorrow and vexation because, oh my God, we've reached the absolute knowledge. We can't bargain anymore. The scales of justice have been weighed, balanced. You've been found wanting. You've been weighed, balanced, measured, and been found wanting. Therefore, license revoked for broadcasting. Dead. What I mean, dead is broadcasting. Okay. Not being able to broadcast at all. At all. Power of witchcraft, wizardry, removed completely. Because you wanted to know. You wanted to think rather than do what you were required to do when you were required to do it. If you do not do what the Lord tells you to do, exactly when the Lord tells you to do it, if you do what the Lord tells you to do, but you don't do it when He told you to do it, then you're still disobedient. And that's the contract. That's what that's what they're founded on. That is what it is. And so it's a non-negotiable thing. There's nothing I can do about anything. But people are. There's no excuse because I've explained this 100 times, and it's right there. It's not like y'all can't look at what the Torah says, and you can't figure it out from getting you a etymological dictionary with all you have to know is like 362 words and 22 letters. Come on, man. So that's that. That's just the way it is. If they allowed the condition to exist, and they allowed it to exist. In fact, they pushed for it to exist so they could control, make me ride as a passenger. Right? Well, just figure my body's the car, and they wanted to drive my body around to get where they wanted to go. They wanted to ride me like a horse. We're gonna ride Jesus into wherever he needs to go. No. You have to, and don't have to. Whatever. You had a choice. Choose life, death. Choices made. Okay, they didn't want blessing. Didn't want blessing in life, so them and their children could live. They didn't want that live. Emanate. Have broadcast on the airwaves. Them and their children cannot broadcast on their airwaves at all. You and your them and their children for 4 generations have lost the ability to broadcast. No. And there's nothing I can do about it. So, oh well. But anyway, I'm not going to go over where that verse is in Genesis 2 because it's irrelevant. There's no reason to cover it. There just isn't.